Good to see you all. How are you? My name is Craig Crossland. I'm proud to serve as the John V. Roach Dean of the Neeley School of Business here at TCU. I'm new to this position. If you haven't met me before, I look forward to meeting you soon. I started in July. The funny accent is Australian, in case you're wondering. But I'm allowed to be here. I'm a citizen, everything, I promise. I got here legally. So it's wonderful to see you. We really are delighted here in the Neeley School to be able to welcome you and to be able to host this wonderful event. As you can imagine, since July, since I've been here, I've discovered a lot of wonderful programs that we have going here at the university as well, and this is easily one of the most impressive. I think the Against All Odds series, I think it represents not only who we are, but who we aspire to be. If I think about the Neeley School, I mean, we've been a version of a business school for about 140 years. And over that period of time, a lot of things have changed. Changed buildings and people and students and faculty and staff. But there have been some consistencies. And some of those consistencies, I think, are represented in what we call the Neeley Promise. So the Neeley Promise says, the Neeley School of Business unleashes human potential with leadership at the core and innovation in our spirit. I think related to that is our focus on inclusive excellence. And we think about this in a number of different ways, but one of the key ways to me is, does every member of our community feel like they truly belong and that they're a recognized member of the community? And do they feel like there's a way of standing out in our community? And what I admire the most about the Against All Odds series is it reflects those three elements, the leadership, the innovation, and the inclusive excellence. I want to especially thank Dr. Ann Tasby for her leadership and for her stewardship of this wonderful role, this wonderful program. I won't be introducing our speaker as Thasunda Duckett, but others will. But what I do want to introduce is another member of our community. We could not have this would not be possible without the support, the financial and other support that we receive from Bank of America. And so I'm very grateful to a representative of Bank of America here, Mr. Rod Wilson. He is a TCU alum. He was an EMBA graduate, 2023. You will see his purple. He's rocking the purple as he does. He was also a guest of the Against All Odds series in September 23. He currently works for Merrill Lynch, which you will know is part of the Bank of America group. So I'll hand over now to Rod. I want to thank you again all for being here. I'm looking forward to the session, and as we say a lot around here, go Frogs.
Well, hey, again, my name is Rod Wilson. I'm an Associate Market Executive here with Merrill Lynch. I will tell you, you guys are in for a treat. We got the opportunity to hear Thasunda speak earlier today, so hold down. She's passionate and really ferocious about what she's going to share with you today. I will tell you, Bank of America is a proud sponsor of the Against All Odds series because it really represents, in my opinion, everything that both organizations stand for. It's grit, determination, and really our values out in the community. And so, with that being said, I'll toss the mic over to Ann. And again, thank you all for being here. You're in for a treat.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Rod is really modest. What I want to tell you is this series is more than just an opportunity to come and hear amazing speakers that happen to be diverse, that are incredible leaders and voices that are part of the top voices in the world. It's also an opportunity for our sponsors to support our access initiatives here in the business school. We actually heard from our students that suits were a barrier for them in terms of wanting to be in the business school. We started a program called Suit Up that this series actually supports. We also heard from our students that there were some challenges relative to affording books, in terms of also meal insecurity, and this series actually helps to combat those things as well. So I am just so excited. Again, let's give Bank of America a rousing round. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of the TCU leadership that's here. If you're a part of the TCU leadership team, go ahead and stand up for us. Just give us or you can just give us a quick wave if you're. So you see, we have a incredible representation from the TCU leadership team, our Neeley Board of Advisors, our Board of Trustees, our our board that supports our inclusive excellence initiatives. We have just incredible support, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to have all of this incredible support from our faculty and staff and all of our whole TCU community that has rallied around this whole idea of bringing in diverse executives from around the world to share their stories of grit and determination. Because what we know for sure is that in the span of a career, you will definitely end up having to figure out how to navigate when you actually hit the wall, which is going to happen. It's not if, but when. And so we want to make sure that we equip our students accordingly. So I'm delighted that we're able to do that through this series. And so what I want to do now is just hand it off to my co-creator in absolute excellence, David Russell. David is an alum of TCU, and he doesn't like it when I brag on him, but he's actually one of my key collaborators in how we started this whole series. So David, what are we in for today?
Good afternoon, everybody. I need a little more energy than that. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I have the honor and privilege of introducing our moderator and our panelists today. So I'm going to read a very brief of their bios. So Yana Chambers Hastings, since 2016, has served as the Vice Chancellor and Chief Human Resource Officer here at TCU. She started her career about 3 decades ago at MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, and has worked in that time in academia as well as in healthcare. She is in her 3rd year as a board chair for the TIAA National Advisory Council, which is how she met our esteemed guest today. And she's received numerous recognitions for her efforts in her career, including 2019 by the Fort Worth Business Press Journal, the HR Professional of the Year, as well as the Coupa National Distinguished Service Award in 2024. She earned her undergraduate degree from the University of Southern Mississippi, her Master's of Public Policy from Mississippi State, and her doctorate from Baylor University, which we do not hold against her. So please help me introduce Yana, please. Now, Ms. Duckett, who has a very long bio, I tried to still give you your credit without taking up all the time here. So since 2021, she has served as the CEO of TIAA, which is a $1.3 trillion financial services company, and is helping them expand their vision beyond just working with educators, but helping all Americans retire. Prior to TIAA, she was the CEO of the Consumer Bank at JP Morgan, as well as the Auto Finance Group, and before then was the Director of Emerging Markets at Fannie Mae. She has a lot of actually connections both to TCU. So she's currently on the board of Nike, where obviously Elliot Hill, our esteemed alum, is the CEO there. She's on the board of the RFK Center for Human Rights, the Economic Club of New York, on the board of both our alma maters, University of Houston as well as Baylor, Delta Sigma Theta organization, ELC Advisory Board Council, where she was with our esteemed trustee Ron Parker. She's also been named to the Times 100 Most Influential People, as well as a CNBC Changemaker. She holds her bachelor's from the University of Houston, and again, an MBA from Baylor, which we're not going to hold against her today. She's also a native North Texan. Please allow me to introduce Ms. Thasunda Brown Duckett.
Did you want this side? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, let's
You
do
want
that.
this side? I should
That's
this
where I
side?
was before. I can't think on this side.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here. You know, it's been 3 years. We got to sit down and do this right after you got your position and in New York, right at the studios there. It was great. Thank you for letting me do that, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this today. We had a great chat at lunch and talked a lot about grit and determination. So tell us a little bit about you and what kind of grit does it take to get where you are?
Well, first, let me just say it's such a pleasure to be here and to speak to all of you. And also, I just want to give a huge shout out to this woman here. She was one of the first clients that I met when I became CEO of TIAA, and understanding that we exist to ensure that millions of people can retire with dignity. You all have a leader in Yana that is very passionate about faculty and staff having the best benefit plan with security that they will not be able to outlive. And so I just want to thank you for your passion, your leadership, and bringing your authentic story to the workplace to make real change. So can you all give it up?
Thank you.
Now, go on and come up to the front. So y'all took all the sides, so then when people come in, they're trying to figure out where to sit. So you might have to scoot in the middle so that there'll be people that won't feel like they're interrupting. But in the words of Otis Brown, people may see my glory, but they don't know my story. And so here it goes. You know, I was born in Rochester, New York, and my parents, both parents, grew up in segregation. And so I am first generation full integration. When I was born in New York, we then moved to New Jersey. And then when I was in the 5th grade, my parents moved us to Texas. And how that came about is my dad is a blue collar worker. He did not go to college. I would always say that we were long on love, but short on money. My parents had big aspirations like most parents do. And I remember they would sign us up for karate, and my 2 brothers and I never got past white belt, yellow stripe. I started piano lessons, but didn't get past Mary Had a Little Lamb. But that was because they wanted to give us the best, but then the money would get in the way. You know, I tell people that I know what it's like to have financial insecurity. I know what it's like to have a car, not have a car. I know what it's like to have your lights on, lights off. I know what it's like to open up that refrigerator and all you see is baking soda, but somehow, some way, we always had a meal. And so when we moved from New Jersey to Texas, it was because the plant or the warehouse shut down. And back then, there wasn't a reload package for the blue collar worker. They would just tell you, here are 3 locations. And my dad chose Texas. And so we packed everything that we owned in a car, my 2 brothers, my mom and my dad, and everything we owned. So I started on the east side of Arlington, Texas, in an apartment sitting on crates. And then over time, you would go to Rent-A-Center and pay way too much for that TV. We'll talk about that later. But I share that story because what we also had was unbelievable love. What we also had was a father that told me to reach for the moon because even if I missed, I would be among the stars. What we also had is my mother, who's a retired educator, that told me whatever you do it well or you don't do it at all. If you see someone at school and they don't have lunch, you don't make fun of them, you give them your lunch, because when you get home, some way, somehow you will eat. What my parents taught us was the power of sports. I grew up loving sports. And so I would also share with you this grit and this determination comes from being very clear on my story. And I think that everyone, no matter who you are, should deeply connect to your roots. I understand that it was not a given for me to be able to go to the University of Houston or to Baylor. I understand that it was the cooks and the janitors and the secretaries that introduced my melanin into corporate America in my gender so that someday I could ascend to become the first female CEO of TIAA, to become the first African American on the operating committee at JP Morgan Chase, to be one of only 2 Black women running a Fortune 500, only ever being 4. But I understand that it took a lot of fight in order for me to be. And I just think that in order for you to have grit and perseverance, you have to know that there were people that had grit and perseverance for you to be able to ascend. And so my grit comes from a lineage of people that refuse to give up. My grit comes from the history of knowing that though today may be hard, there's better days in our future. My grit comes from seeing my mom and dad care about the community in a way that just inspired me to want to make a positive impact. And so I hope that you all understand that you all represent grit and perseverance, no matter who you are, but deeply connect to those that paid the rent for you to live in the spaces and places that we do, including being at this fine University of Texas Christian. So that's what I would say about a little bit about my story. One other thing I forgot to tell you, the power of advocacy and the power of information. I would not be in this seat if Mr. and Ms. Patterson from Arlington, Texas, did not tell me about a program called Inroads. Inroads was founded by Frank C. Carr in the 70s. He was a white man who understood that there needed to be opportunity of exposure for African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans in corporate America. And because of inroads that provided internships for talented minorities, that changed the course of my life. I didn't even know the word corporate America. Mr. and Ms. Patterson gave me information. So the one thing that I hope you all do is give away information freely, brag about this university, because you never know whose life you could change just through the power of information. And then the power of advocacy is Fannie Mae had one internship job. And I was interviewing on the campus of SMU, which is where all the students were interviewing for corporate internships. And Valerie Manning went back to Fannie Mae and said, I found our one intern. Her name is Sarah. But what Valerie Manning did, who did not have a fancy title, she was an HR recruiter. You do not get brownie points for adding more interns. It's an expense. But Valerie Manning said these words, but there's this other girl. And because Valerie Manning chose to say, but there's this other girl, Fannie Mae added a second intern. And so I share that with all of you is because this grit that I have also comes with people that created space for me through information and through advocacy. And that I do not forget, and it changed the course of my life.
Thank you for that story. It's very powerful. You also say, though, where you come from and where you are, but being the first, the only, it's challenging, it's tough. How do you manage the dichotomy of those?
Purpose is a privilege. And, you know, I still have to run a company like every other CEO. You deliver value to our participants, you run your P&L, you evaluate risk, you're at the table making tough decisions just like every other CEO. And being one of only two, women represent less than 10% of corporate 500 CEOs. We just hit the 10% mark, but I think with some recent changes, we're now below that. There's an end to the responsibility. In addition to running a company with excellence, you create space to see those that may not believe they could have voice and agency. And so in addition to being a CEO, I spend time mentoring. I spend time talking to people. I spend time sharing my story. People ask why I am on Instagram. I think I'm the only Fortune 500 CEO on Instagram. It's because I can't do one-on-one meetings with people. It's because I know that young girls, like we heard in the session, was literally saying that she wanted to pursue a PhD, but was trying to figure out how could she do that when she also wanted to be a mom and she wanted to do other things. But by seeing me, she recognized it could be possible because I am a lot of things. But I can't do just the business and go home and just be a mom because I recognize that there are so many people that need to see this story, that need to know that you don't have to trade away things that matter to you in order to ascend in corporate America. And so the weight is heavy because the demand is great, but pressure is a privilege. And I would say that you know that you navigate where people may see you at a discount. People may assume that you're only here because, which is asinine to me, because it also tells me that one could be lazy because they didn't do their research. They didn't check out the receipts of my performance. They didn't say, against all odds, she's here. I operate at a premium, not a discount. And the only reason why I may be perceived as a discount is because there's only space for one. But I know that as we create space for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it won't ever even be a conversation. It would be just what is. But when you are cracking ceilings, when you are the first or the second, people may perceive that the only reason why there could only be a first is because you just arrived to meet the challenge, not recognizing the root cause of why there's only first or second still in 2024. And so I say that because I understand that when I walk into rooms, and if you said, who's the CEO that runs 1.6, the market's been good lately, who's the CEO that's running $1.6 trillion? And if I was in many rooms and I lined up, they wouldn't draft pick me one. They may not even see me in the room, but yet I am here. And so I just think that against all odds, you have to be real and understanding that people may see you how they want to see you, but that does not define you. And like I told the young people earlier today, is what my mother told me, is that when people want to look at you and define everything about you that is opposite of who you are, just like when the mail comes to your home with the wrong address, you return it to sender because that does not belong to you. In fact, I would say that against all odds, I have 3 degrees. Against all odds, I persevered in rooms where they did not see me. Against all odds, I connected with relationships that on the surface we had nothing in common, but now have lifelong friends. Against all odds, I was okay if someone saw me and they had to wait 10 minutes for them to realize that I was the CEO in the room. Against all odds, against all odds, against all odds, I am here. And my purpose and my passion is to make sure that against all odds, more people can be in spaces where they may be the first and the second. And I believe that if we continue to break down these barriers against all odds, we will grow GDP in this country. I believe we will create more job creation. I think that the biggest thing that's holding us back is not letting the humanity and the excellence of everyone thrive in this country. And the more we do that, the more powerful this country will be against all odds.
I'm not crying, you're crying. So many lessons are learned early in our careers. You've described sponsors, mentors, people in our life who sometimes see us fall, but they never let us hit the ground. What was one lesson you learned early that changed how you choose to show up, take up space as a leader, and how did advocacy help you in your career?
Wow. There's so many stories. The one that I will share is one that I shared with the young people. My goal in life was to run a P&L, where the money reside. And I'm not talking about 1.6 trillion assets under management. I was just talking about a P&L maybe managing 10 people, right? And in the words of Sheryl Sandberg, who wrote the book Lean In, one quote that I love is she said, if I would have mapped my career, I would have missed my career. If someone would have told me when I was many of y'all's age, Thasunda, you get one wish, dream as big as you can, I would have shortchanged my dream. I did not know this dream was possible. So my dream would have been limited. So I remember wanting to run the P&L. And that opportunity happened at Chase to run a mortgage P&L, which was the Northeast region. It was like the largest region at Chase. The only problem for me is that I was 6 months pregnant. So I'm talking to the CEO of the mortgage company, and he's telling me that he would like for me to run the Northeast market. And I literally say to him, this is not, eating bonbons, wait, I'm pregnant. And he's like, okay, but I'm 6 months pregnant and it's a Schedule C because my first child was a Schedule C-section. So this one's an emergency C-section. So this one's gonna be a C-section. I'm gonna be out for 3 months. He's like, okay, you coming back, right? Yeah, I'm coming back. The point is, I gave him permission to take it back. Like literally, if he would have said, you're right, you are pregnant, maybe next time. I would have been like, okay, thank you. That lesson for me was a lot. What it taught me is that the opportunity may come at a time that you think is the worst time, And you might convince yourself that it's the best thing to pass because you're not going to be ready. I learned that mental gymnastics are real. And sometimes that voice in your head comes out your mouth. And that could give people permission to do exactly the opposite of the value you know you can create for the company. And I learned that even when I was in my head, the leader of the mortgage company reminded me of my talent. And he said, "You are coming back, right?" And of course I delivered. But all of that, especially being a woman thinking, you know, I want to run a P&L, but maybe after I have my kids, and then maybe after they turn, and then what I'm learning is still and then with these babies, because it never ends. And you tell yourself that the opportunity can come when it's a different kind of box. And I'm sure many of you can relate to, no matter who you are, many times your opportunity came at the most imperfect, perfect time. And it's going to be okay. You mentioned mentorship and advocacy, and I think this is very important, especially for those of us, even at TCU, where it may not be as diverse as you want, or you may be a student in a class and you may not see a professor that on the surface is like you. I would also tell you that some of the biggest advocates in my career did not look like me. It's math, I'm in financial services, but many were not like me. They were men, they were white, they were older than me. And so I would just encourage you all that if you walk into a room and on the surface, it can feel uncomfortable, just keep talking and let them see your magic. And what you might find is the person in the room that you think would be least likely to understand your story is the person that is the most curious about your story, the person that may also have a similar story, and may be that person that will give you unbelievable advocacy. So don't limit the opportunity for people to advocate on your behalf, to learn on your behalf, and to be a partner in your success. Don't opt out because you don't think someone looks like you. In fact, take them on the journey, and you may have helped them way more than they could have ever helped you. And that is something that I would also invite that invitation, because sometimes we think that the advocacy has to come from similar identity. The advocacy just has to come from people that see your magic. And that's what I've learned.
Thank you. So I'm listening to you talk about folks not looking like you. So how do you deal with that horrible thing called imposter syndrome? How do you maintain your authenticity and you enter into that space and know that you really deserve to be there?
Well, let me just ask a question. How many of you all have ever had imposter syndrome? I was about to say, who's not raising their hand? Because you need to teach me. So let me see it again. Like, has ever just like, right? We've all had it. Now, here's what I've learned. Mental gymnastics are real. And you can't escape moments, no matter who you are, when you walk in a room. This young lady, a freshman, was at this table for lunch with all of us, like older people in business. And she was like, I was shaking when I came in. And then she goes, but then I realized I belong at the table. So it doesn't matter. We all have faced it and still face it. But here is what I will tell you. What I have learned is that the imposter cannot have the power. Because here's the point. When that imposter is starting to come in, if you operate with imposter syndrome, the lesson went to the imposter. The accolades went to the imposter. And then as you move through life, and there's an opportunity for you to lead a company or your next promotion, and you're not prepared, even though your life experiences would say you should be, it's because you gave all benefit to the imposter. And so in the moment that you want to decide to show up as you can't, because you never benefited from those hard moments. You never benefited from when you did a great job. And so now when there's that moment where you want to come in and just be the true you're the one with the empty suit. And so then you go back to being the imposter. So you never grow. And so what I have learned is that my best shot at being the best leader is being the best version of Thasunda Brown Duckett. The best shot that I have to deliver results is to put the imposter in the back so that I can be present and ask all the questions. The best shot I have to learn from all of the learnings was to make sure that me, Thasunda, could feel it, could feel the rejection, could feel the insecurity, could feel the miss, but also could feel the triumph, to feel the accolades, to feel the progress. And so when the imposter syndrome hits, because it will, just ask yourself the question, who do you want to benefit from it today? The imposter or me? And I think if you ask yourself that simple question, you will take that deep breath and know that you are more than enough, that you are worthy and deserving to be in any room. You have more grit than you give yourself credit for. And if you go through the challenge being the best version of you, you will be the beneficiary and get the high yield return that was commiserate to the journey you went through. Imposter syndrome is real. I still have it, but I do check myself and realize I could not be who I am and win hearts and minds of people if I was always showing up as the imposter. And even if I could, I would not be having joy. It is not fun being an imposter. So I hope that helps. So the next time you're going to ask yourself that question, it's the question that I ask myself. And I think it comes from insecurity. It comes from false narratives. It comes from saying I don't belong. It comes from saying I don't feel like I'm adequate. It comes from saying everyone else in the room I think is smarter than me or may have greater value. No matter who you are, we all go through that. And that's okay. It's human. It's just about keeping that in check in a way that you get to benefit from you and know that you are the best shot at excellence, not the imposter.
Powerful. Thank you for that. So we talk about enough. Is there enough time? So I want to shift to work-life balance. I personally don't think there's such a thing. I think there's flow. Okay. So it's transformative. Yeah. We talked a little bit about that. We have demands. Yeah. Men and women, our families, our parents, if we're in the middle of the sandwich. How do you manage all that?
All right, y'all ready for this? The first thing I'm going to tell all of you, who's heard of the word work-life balance? Is anybody? Okay, I'm looking at the young people. You've heard of work-life balance as well? All right, it's a lie. Straight no chaser, a lie. So now that we got that out the way. So we are at the business school, and I am a finance marketing major, and I am in finance. So I am going to give you my equivalent to work-life balance through the lens of finance. Are y'all ready? Yes. All right, the first thing that I want you all to know is that you should live your life like a diversified portfolio. Now that we got work-life balance is a lie out the way. So what do I mean by that? The first thing is to know you only have 100%. So quit telling yourself the lie. Oh, I have 130%. I give 110. You only have 100. So now that we got that lie out the way, the reason why that's important is because if you think about everything that matters in your life, so just like a diversified portfolio, you have allocation of stocks, bonds, insurance, et cetera, different categories, small cap, large cap, emerging markets, you diversify your portfolio. If I asked you for your life portfolio, what's in mine is being a CEO, being a philanthropist, being an auntie, being a mother, being a daughter, self-care, girlfriend, wife. That's my portfolio. Then you allocate in the moment. The truth is my children don't get 100% of me. That was a lie I was telling myself. The truth is they get 30. But by telling myself that truth, I became a more present parent. Because when I was lying to myself, I was multitasking at the game. Mama listening. Ooh, good. Okay, yeah, about it. But when I realized they only get 30%, I'm way more present now. What I also realized about a diversified portfolio is just like in money, you respond to market conditions. When there are market conditions, you reallocate your portfolio based on your plan. Life gives you life conditions. That means you have to reallocate. So when I became CEO of TIAA, I had to reallocate my portfolio to about 80% was being a CEO because I needed to learn. I was reading, I was studying, I was meeting with people, asking questions. When my brother suddenly passed away 2 years ago, I had to reallocate my portfolio to being a daughter, an auntie, a sister. And I had to dial down my girlfriend time, or had to dial down my mommy time. The point is, you respond to the market conditions. There are times, just like in your portfolio, where it's no longer working and you have to short the stock. In your life portfolio, there are things or people that are not working for you. You need to short the stock and sell it so that whatever is left, you redeploy it into something that is good, that can give you positive alpha over time. So here is the point. If you live your life like a diversified portfolio, everything that matters to you is in it. If you live your life like a diversified portfolio, you will know that you do not give 100% to one thing. That's like putting 100% in one stock. No matter how hot it is today, that is some real risk. And what you will know is that if you live your life like a diversified portfolio, there will be highs and lows just like your financial portfolio. There are times that I don't feel like I'm a great mom. There's times I don't feel like I'm a great daughter. My parents live here. I live in Connecticut. There's times that I don't feel like I'm a great CEO. You don't always make the best decisions. However, living my life like a diversified portfolio, what I know for sure, over time, I'm a really good mom. Over time, I am a great leader. Over time, I am a good mommy, a good daughter. Over time, I am outperforming this thing called life. Just like a good financial planner will tell you, a diversified portfolio outperforms over time. As long as you're true to your allocation, true to your goals, address market volatility, I am outperforming this thing called life because everything that matters to me is in my portfolio, and I give myself a lot of grace to respond to life conditions just like I do my money. So work-life balance is a lie. Live your life like a diversified portfolio, and you will outperform this thing called life, which means you will have joy because everything that matters to you is in your portfolio.
Absolutely. So I do follow you on Instagram, and there is tea magic. I truly believe in your magic, but you know, even magicians have to restock their inventory. So how do you recharge? How do you disconnect? How do you rebuild the energy and the joy you bring to others?
You know, I believe that we all have 24 hours in a day, and I would say, make sure your moat is a powerful moat. What do I mean by that? Especially for the young people. This inner circle of yours has direct access to how you feel. They make you feel good, they make you feel bad. They encourage you, they disappoint you. Be careful on who's in your inner moat. My inner moat is my faith. My inner moat are my parents. My grandma is a strong moat factor. My inner moat are my children and my husband and people that I know are 10 toes down for me. The people I work with, who I adore, represent this inner moat, which means they protect me. The people on the furthest outside of my moat that may not wish me well, they got to penetrate a lot of layers to get to me. So make sure that your moat is strong and that you don't misplace people in the wrong allocation of your moat. They could be a family member, doesn't mean they deserve to be in that inner moat. They could be a colleague. It doesn't mean they deserve to be in that inner moat. They need maybe to be ring 5, right? Because you need some protection to deal with them. So that is a very important point on how I'm able to recharge, because I am very, very intentional on who provides me energy. I believe in recyclable energy. I could be so tired, but if I surround myself with amazing people and we start riffing, Rick, all of a sudden I'm back up and it's 3 a.m. and we're talking about changing the world. It's recyclable energy. It's powerful and it compounds. But also, my moat sees me when I don't even see myself, sees me when that slip is showing. That says, you're on fumes. Or sees my heart when maybe there's some really rough things that are happening in the world that really beats me down. I have people that will say it's okay to take a time out. My husband, who's a Marine and an engineer and the stay-at-home dad, he shuts down Duckett household. Mommy needs sleep, leave her alone, right? Because he knows when I'm drained and he has my back. I spend time with family. I watch things like HGTV. I read books. I give to the community. The point is that when you surround yourself with great people, when you understand what makes you go and what makes you stop, then sometimes when I want to go, I have people telling me time out. And sometimes I had to recalibrate. I remember, and I was telling the young people when I lived in California by myself, learning life, I remember I was so stressed out, I broke out in hives, just stress. And I remember I ran my bath water and I just had to get down to the basics. I was just like, thank you, God, for oxygen. Thank you, God, for bath water. Thank you for whoever invented bubble soap. Thank you for, I'm looking around. Thank you for the grass outside. Thank you for the music I'm listening to. Thank you for the fruit that I'm eating. Thank you for thank you. Thank you. I just had to remind myself in order to calm my spirit down that on my worst day, on my most stressed out day, I'm still winning. And sometimes when you are going and it's tough, you're making tough business decisions, life at home is not great, the world that you see can sometimes break your heart, and sometimes it really starts to impact you. You're running on fumes at work. Sometimes you go to gratitude. And so to sum it all up, when I am on fumes, when I need to recharge, this moat, my faith, the perspective of life, go back to gratitude. And if you just give yourself thanks, you will realize no matter how hard your life is in the moment, there is still so much more that you have to be grateful for. And that helps recharge me, it helps ground me, it helps get me back in the game. And knowing that it's okay to take a breath and it's okay to take a moment. It's okay to call a timeout. And I think that's so important for those of us that just want to go, go, go. That's not the flex. Sometimes the flex is knowing when to stop and take a breath.
That's powerful. Thank you. Okay, so I subscribe to no lines, no lanes, no limits. So, thank you. So there's core strategies, right? You hit walls, you hit boundaries. Sometimes there's a valley. Sometimes there's a moat, right? So share with us some core strategies that you've used in this powerful existence that has been given to you. That you use that you can share with others to get over those boundaries and get through them?
Yeah, first of all, I say this publicly, I rent my title, I own my character. So the first tip I would give to all of you is know your ownable assets. If you ask my children who they are, they won't say that they're black, they won't say that they're a girl or a boy, they will say that they are smart, kind, and brave. And so what I would encourage all of you and what I subscribe to are my ownable assets. What I know to be true is that I am intellectually curious. I own that. What I know to be true is that I have a level of empathy for the world I feel. I own that. I have a work ethic that is second to none. I own that. I own my grit, my tenacity, my perseverance. All of that is owned. And when you know that, then when you are navigating work or when you're navigating life, and sometimes work will give you a U-turn. You may get laid off. You may not get the job you wanted. You may not have performed well. Remember your ownable assets. I recognize that there will be a time where I will have to leave my business card that says CEO of TIAA. There will be that time, hopefully no time soon. But when that ends, I leave my business card and I pack up my grit, my intellectual curiosity, my perseverance, my work ethic, because all of that is ownable. And I think so many times we as individuals, no matter who you are, we lean on the rented assets. I am a professor. I am a dean. I am a CEO. I am an athlete. I am first chair violinist. Well, what happens when you're no longer first chair violinist? You don't know who you are. What happens when you blow out your knee and you can no longer play football? You lose your identity. What happens if you no longer are dean? You lose yourself. And I think part of the lesson that I've learned is to know what I own, because those things I may not can control, but what I can control in life are my ownable assets. And so stay in contact with that. Remind yourself who you are and what you own, I think is important. I think the other piece that I would encourage everyone, which is something that I am very clear on, is know your why. You know, for me, when people say, did you dream of being a CEO? No, I dreamed of making impact. And being a CEO is the platform for me to make impact. I get to make impact in business. I love business. I get to make impact with the colleagues that I get to surround myself with every day. I get to make impact in the returns that we provide on behalf of our participants so that they can retire with dignity. I get to show the world what's possible from a girl from the east side of Arlington. And so I would say, for you, know your why and know your value. I would tell young people, if you don't even know, and if your first job was to sharpen pencils back in the day for that kindergarten class, and you just had to sharpen pencils, and you're getting up to work every day, zzz, zzz, and someone says, you know, why do you do that every day? I don't know, I just pays the bills. Okay, you could say that, or I would invite you to say, you know what? I do my job with excellence because by making sure that that pencil is sharp, I put a pencil in the hands of a 5-year-old that will write their name in class for the first time. And because I sharpened that pencil just right, they didn't get frustrated where it broke. They didn't get frustrated because it was a nub because I was sloppy that day. They were able to write their name for the first time. And because I did my job with excellence, they may now have a love of writing. They may now feel more confident at school. So my point is, purpose is available at any role and any job that you have. You choose to limit it to just be, I'm just trying to get a check, or I'm just trying to make it. I invite you to change your perspective on what truly is that job unlocking and what truly is available for you at work or in everything that you do while you are ascending to continue to build your platform, your confidence, or whatever it is. So my life lessons are, you rent your title, you own your character. My life lessons are affirm yourself, even if you're not being affirmed. Affirm yourself. My life lesson is whatever you do, do it with excellence and seek out the why and the purpose, because if the only thing that you cannot get back is time. So why continue to operate at a discount when you're in the moment and you can deliver alpha in the role that you're in? And my life lesson is to be open to the possibility that that setback may be a setup. Be open to the possibility that there's a lesson for you in that moment. The only question is, are you going to be open to receiving that lesson? And then lastly, just remember the goal in life is to get better every day. I don't know everything as a CEO. I get better every day because I get to surround myself with amazing colleagues. I get inspired every day because I open myself to know that my inspiration doesn't come from a rented title. It came from young people today, just about an hour ago. And so when people say, who's your mentor? Or I don't have a mentor, you're lazy. Open your eyes, the person at the Starbucks who knew your drink, no foam, 2%, latte, whatever. You could be inspired by that. Or did you not even see her excellence? Because you're busy trying to get to me. Mentorship is all around you. And remember, too, that not one person can be your mentor for everything. You know, the one person that can be my mentor may be my executive assistant because she mentors me on how to be a servant partner, the way in which she represents me before people even meet with me. I'm inspired. Mentorship can come from the people furthest removed from you. You just have to be open to it. And if you're open to that possibility, I have mentors that help me be a better wife that would be awful in giving me advice at work. I have mentors who give me so much motivation, but I would not let them read my balance sheet. They would give me bad advice. So don't give the pressure to someone to be all things to you, your spouse, your friend, your children. They can't give you all the answers, but the answers are available if you're open to receiving it from a lot of different people that may have an insight on what you may need in that moment.
I want to free-form this question here, so sorry about that. So, you know, you hear a lot, leave a space better than you found it, right? And you've talked about mentors. For those of us who are mid-career, later career, those of us who have, climbed the mountain, I mean, what are some things that you suggest people with experience can do to share with the folks who are coming along beside us, after us? How can we prepare that path for them? How can we share our experience with them and make sure that they don't have to experience what we did if it was difficult?
Yeah, I mean, again, you've earned your title. So CEO, mid-career, first career, no career, it's available to leave the world a better place. It's available to inspire the young people. And so what I would say to folks, share your story. You know, I think that if all we did, especially in an age where we forget that the social feeds that we watch or listen to, et cetera, is really an algorithm to monetize a company. You know, we somehow forget what it's there to do, why it's free. It's because it's learning what to put in front of you for you to monetize, which is great. It helps me find my shoes I like. You know, it knows me well. But the other side of that is it doesn't invite space for difference, perspective. And so what I would say to all of us, no matter what level you are in, that you have value and you have an ability and a responsibility to get out of your comfortable space and just tell your story, if nothing else. And I think that if you tell your story, the true story, not the sloppy story, leave that to, don't. Some things don't need to be said, but your story, then you have the opportunity to inspire. When you tell your story about being in the sandwich generation and here you are, this amazing provost, but you have to take care of mom and dad and you have to take care of your children. That's a story that we can all relate to. And I think that the power of connection and the power of giving each other value and inspiration and hope and encouragement comes through our stories. And I think sometimes we have told ourselves we have nothing to offer. Sometimes we have told ourselves, my story isn't relevant. Who would care about my story? I'm just. Throw away that word, I'm just. I'm just an analyst. I am just a recruiter. Imagine if Valerie Manning did that. So I say that if you want to change the world, tell your story. If you want to change the world, if you want to help people, if you want to inspire people, start with the people closest to you. You're here at TCU, you have an unbelievable opportunity to inspire people every single day. You have an unbelievable opportunity when you walk into a store to say good morning. When you walk into work, do you say good morning? Do you see the person or do you beeline it to the manager and walk past everybody else and go, hi, Mrs. Smith? You missed your moment to inspire someone. When my brother suddenly passed, I shared the story. But I also shared the story about the importance of naming your beneficiary and recalibrating, even if you were married and you didn't think you needed to, but then you went through a divorce and then you forgot. By me just telling my story, we had a 30% increase in people naming their beneficiary and doing the things. And all I had to do was tell my story. And so I would just say that the power of inspiration comes through the power of telling your story. And I would also tell all of you that in this room, where there's so many different perspectives, if I had everyone stand up and said 5 things about me, I bet I could connect with every single one of you. So I'm gonna try it. Stand up. I don't want to stand up because I think I'll be off the camera feed if I do. But here's the deal. This is the power of connection. Because we're in this polarized world, everything is divisive. We act as if we're all binary, that there's nothing more to us than one thing. But I am going to figure out, can I connect with every single one of you through the power of storytelling? My husband is a Marine. If your family member and your immediate family have served your country, sit down. If you are a family member in your immediate family, sit down and thank them for your service. I am the middle child. If you are the middle child, you're the best child, sit down. I absolutely love basketball, football, hockey. My daughter got me into hockey, fencing, because my daughter fences. My favorite color is red. I'm gonna give one that really different. My youngest child is adopted. If you are adopted or someone in your family is adopted, sit down. I grew up in Texas. I love sushi. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I majored in business. I love The Voice. Taylor Swift is a flex. I am a Swiftie, and so is Beyonce. Okay, this is gonna get hard now. I wear glasses, and I love flavor in my glasses. And by the way, y'all wearing glasses love glasses, so we could have a whole conversation. Here is the point. Look at your faces. The power of connection. Or you walk in a room and you feel like you don't belong. Or you walk in a room and assume there will be nothing in common with these folks. I just can't wait to get out of this meeting. Take a moment and just tell your story. And we could totally jam on glasses. Or we could totally jam on what it's like to have a Marine as your, that's a different, we could totally jam of being in the business school. We could totally jam on being the only child, or being the middle child, or being the only girl, or being the caregiver for many, and being that fist of the family. And it feels good to connect. So get out of your algorithm. Don't fire your friends with a different opinion. Create space to tell stories. And I promise you, just in the spirit of storytelling your story and connecting, you've invited the opportunity to inspire and make impact. That felt good.
Thank you. That was fun. So we've talked about how others can help us be prepared and support us to get to these places. I'm curious, how many people in here are doing what they went to school to do? Okay.
How many of you are still in school trying to figure it out? There you go. All right.
So I have an undergrad in textiles. I was gonna make furniture for a living. I don't know how the HR thing happened. So
sometimes the meetings feel like you're talking to furniture. That's how it connects.
A connection. Thank you for that. So we take these paths. How is it that we prepare ourselves? What can we do as we sit at that table, as we become a person in that line? It's pick me. What are the things that we could be responsible for making ourselves visible and more powerful as a contender for that opportunity?
I mean, especially in this day and age, intellectual curiosity is the flex. You are not going to out-chat GPT. You are not going to out-Google Google. But how you think about the information is your currency. How you think about the information that you're receiving. How you think about if you're into data science, how you think about the different codes and the problems you're trying to solve and the way in which you take this data plus this data and provide an insight. So I would say that number one, intellectual curiosity is the currency. What are you reading? On your app, do you have the Financial Times, the New York Times? Do you have, the Wall Street Journal? Of course, you could have, your gossip, your sports. But do you have an algorithm that will help you stay curious? Or do you only read one thing? So I would encourage you all to understand the curiosity. Do you ask questions? I will tell you in my position, my team will tell you, I have jam sessions, not meetings. Meetings are very formal. Jam sessions, let's jam and talk about it. It makes it more fun. It takes away the bureaucracy. But I ask a lot of questions because the insight to problems is not in the first or second question. It's in the third and the fourth. And so I would ask you all that in your workplace, in your job, at school, when you're taking a class, are you asking questions? If you're not training your skills. You're not honing your skills. And those of you that are asking questions sooner, earlier, those of you that are thinking deeply about the spirit of the question and the problem, you are training yourself for today and tomorrow. Curiosity is about getting proximate to difference. We live in a global world. And the global world in business is no longer defined that it's business, it's community, it's this, it's all blending. Tech companies are business companies. Business need AI. You cannot be a CEO and don't understand technology. Technology is the business. You cannot be a CEO and not be open to a diverse world because your labor force will come from every part of the world. And are you open to understanding it? And are you curious enough to understand what belonging means? It's not just some fancy word or just like, okay, we're TCU, we're trying to be inclusive. It's about, I want to be a great leader. And if I'm going to be a great leader, I want to get proximate to freshmen and seniors, postdoc and PhDs, the person cleaning the grounds at TCU and the person that's balancing the budget at TCU. I want to get proximate to the person that is so far unlike me that may have come to this country from a country I didn't even know existed. I want to know who they are and their story. Because the more comfortable you get to being uncomfortable, the more open you will be to have the very best talent in business. The more comfortable you will be in looking around the corner and solving complex problems and being open that the solution to a complex problem can be the person furthest from you. It could be an email from an employee that had an idea or thought. But if you operate in a closed way, if you operate in a way that you want to stay monolithic, you reduce the capacity to solve complex problems. And the world is complex. And so I would invite you to practice that skill. And then lastly, I would say, we talk about IQ, EQ. I think that the business acumen is table stakes. The EQ is the flex. So many times we would call that soft skills, devalued skills. Y'all are here at the Neeley Business School. I could find finance majors all around the country. Okay. I could find marketing majors all around the country. Okay. Great. I can't find you, though, all around the country. That is your EQ side. You being willing to share your story, you being willing to bring your perspective. I grew up in rural part of the country, and here was my perspective. I grew up in Senegal. Here's my perspective. I grew up an only child. I grew up affluent. Here was my perspective. I grew up broke. Here's my perspective. I grew up with food insecurity. Here's my perspective. I grew up not understanding English. Here's my perspective of how does it feel to be in a country where you're learning the language on the fly instead of us marginalizing that person. How dope is that person and how courageous is that person? So those are the lessons that I would say that if you want to position yourself to deliver your best potential, if you want to prepare yourself for an ever-changing world where you can embrace technology and not be afraid of technology, it goes back to the fundamentals. And finally, I would say in a world that is controversial about, working from home, working at home, working in the office, blah, 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 whatever, just remember, early bird gets the worm. And if you really want to stand out, do you do things that other people are not willing to do? Or do you operate with the mid mindset? Well, they said I only have to go in 2 days a week. Okay, that's fine. That's policy. That doesn't have to be your mindset. So I know when young people are looking for jobs, well, I want to, be virtual. Okay, that's cool, but where are you going to find your differentiation? Where are you going to seek your alpha? Where are you going to seek learning from the CEO that's in the office every day? Where are you going to find the moment to have a cup of coffee when you come in that morning or stay later? And let the flexibility work for you, but make sure that flexibility doesn't equate to a mid mindset because you start operating with minimum standards. I only have to do X or I only want to do that. I think if you want to reach your full potential, you do what people are not willing to do. You write handwritten notes to say thank you, not just an email. When you meet someone, you write something about them so that you can connect with them and say, it is so great meeting you. I love that red dress. It's super fantastic. It was so great meeting you because I remember you told me you're going to be the first to graduate from college in your family. And I remembered that about you. That's the differential. Open your mouth and say something if you want to stand out. Stand out. Don't just come to this and leave. Talk to someone that's a teacher here. Hello, this was a great conversation, wasn't it? So my point is to all of you that greatness is available for everyone. You just have to do what other people are not willing to do. You have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations in order to expand your perspective. You have to be okay in recognizing that you will not have all the best ideas, but if you lead and have people that will follow you, you will get all the ideas you need to run a great company. You will understand that you will make mistakes, but if you surround yourself with different perspectives, there'll be two-door mistakes, which means we can recover, not one-door mistakes. And if you surround yourself with people that have your best interest, they will tell you the truth. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And that the goal is to get better every day and not have a mid-mindset expecting outsized opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, I don't want to run out of time, and I know there are questions folks have. So, questions, raise your hands. Yes.
All right, hello, my name is Joe
The
Lee.
best microphone I've ever seen in my life.
Hello, my name is Joe Leach. I'm a full-time MBA student here at TCU. I'm a second year, focused on finance. And my question is just like managing different peoples, like they have different customs, cultures, lifestyles. What's your approach to managing them and creating a great workplace for your employees to work at?
Yeah, I love that we have just an amazing workforce. But what I tell my teammates is that I love that they're all different, but we wear one jersey, and that's TIAA jersey. And so it doesn't matter who you look like, what you do, et cetera. I want to understand it. I want to understand how you are feeling with the world. I want to understand what makes you go, because that's how you build relationships. People want you to know that you care about them before you ask about all the business things you need them to deliver. So I want people to feel like they have a CEO who cares, because I'm going to work you really hard to deliver results. But never forget the plot. Sometimes we forget the plot. The plot is understanding all this difference is to understand that it all ladders up to one great jersey. And the fact that we have all this difference just creates a greater mosaic of the jersey. And so I don't get caught up in this or that. I want to get to know you, because we ladder up at work. We're one team. Different departments, different perspectives, different parts of the country, different religions, different whatever, one team, one jersey. And I think if we as leaders stay focused on that, then you'll create the space to say, in order to make this jersey go, in order to make you want to wear the jersey, tell me about you. Let me make sure you feel like you belong. It's one team. Just like sports. If you're the water girl, you provide a lot of value. Don't let everybody sleep on the water girl. Get thirsty in the middle of it. All right? That water girl is the MVP. All right? Everybody plays a role. And so I just think sometimes we lose the plot. You know what I mean? And so it's one jersey, get proximate, bring everyone together, because you always anchor on why we are here and what we're here to do. That's the common denominator. But in order to get the best thinking, I want to know who you are. So I don't want you to water down who you are. Bring your best version of you into this office, because that's going to help me generate alpha so we can deliver strong returns to give it right back to our participants so that they can have a secure retirement.
Thank you. Okay, if you would say your name and what are they supposed
People
to
just
say?
want to touch that cool mic. They don't even have a question. They just
introduce
that
yourself
is the
and your
best
major.
microphone
Yeah,
ever.
it is.
Hello, thank you so much for your time today. I am a TCU alum, and when I got the email that you were speaking today, I booked my flight from Houston, and I'll be flying right back home. So you're like my Beyonce for corporate America. So thank you so much for being here. But I'm very ambitious. I aspire to be in the C-suite one day, so this is, good learning information. But I find myself, when I accomplish a goal, I set another goal, and I feel like I never have a stop. So my question to you is there a peak for you? What's your ultimate goal? And are you the same where you just keep setting goals?
Oh my God. Okay, listen. Here's the deal. My daddy told me to reach for the moon. There you go. So there is no limit to impact. I rent my title. So the only thing I'm reaching for is greater impact. And that's available for me every day. Secondly, I was like you, oh my God, I couldn't even, all these awards, you just got Time 100 in a word. My team messes with me, right? You're inducted to the Academy of Arts and Sciences with all these brilliant people, and here I am. And I'm like, okay, next. Here's what I've done. Because you can't change who you are. Calm app helps me. I love the Calm app because I'm always thinking. But I did 3 things for visual representation for me to take a moment. 1, flowers at my house, because it reminds me to smell the roses. So I always have flowers. Secondly, candles, because I love the scent. It just takes me to a place. And third, I love my cheese and wine, but y'all may be young. So my point is, I just those simple things at home, even when I'm running around being mama or reading my Sunday packet that Rick's put together, all 200 plus pages for the week, I'm doing that with my flowers, with my wine and cheese, with my candles, and that is my physical representation to tell me to take a breath. You're doing really well. That's what I've done. So when you're on this beat path, make sure you connect to that physical representation to tell you to slow down and be okay. And by the way, just do great in what's in front of you. Sometimes, and I think young people, we have this anxiety because we want it so bad. We want to help our parents so bad. We want to prove people wrong so bad. And you just get so anxious. Take a breath. The best path that you have to your dreams is what's right in front of you, and to do it with excellence. And make sure you lift your head up along the way. But don't put so much pressure on where you want to be that you don't enjoy where you are.
I really just wanted to hold the mic. No, Thasunda Rod Wilson, proud MBA TCU alum. Why was it important for you to be here today? You got a lot of competing demands and priorities, and people are always tugging at you, but why was it important for you to be here at the Against All
She
Odds?
asked. Seriously, but there's lots of reasons. One, I get to come back to the great state of Texas, and TCU is right down the road from Arlington and where I grew up, so this is home. 2, I get to give back. You know, I get to hopefully inspire young people to know that you are so amazing. I get to have someone that drove from Houston to see me. Like, that's like, oh my gosh. And 3, I get to show you what a mommy looks like, what an impact maker looks like, what a CEO who loves finance looks like. I get to show you what the impossible looks like. I get to not just show you that you can crack a ceiling, or I can say just create a new house. I get to show you that and remind you that you can be in business and want to impact the world. The impact must be financed. And so I want to remind people that business is a great sector to be in. And then lastly, I get to be inspired. And so to come to Texas Christian University and to be around all of you is a gift for me. And you all are a very important client of TIAA and the work that you've done to design a plan that's improving financial outcomes. I get to say thank you. Thank you for aligning to the mission of our company. Oh, you have the back row, the back row. Go on, girl. You got people saying, stand up.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Maisha Wish. I am in healthcare leadership. I have my master's in healthcare administration. I've been in leadership for 4 years, and I have the pleasure of leading new leaders, new managers. And so I would like to ask you, how would you define the difference between a manager and a leader? And what advice would you give new leaders like myself, or even managers growing into leadership?
Yeah, it's such a great question. Managers is process. It's process. You know, I manage a team. That means we have our team meeting. They owe me things. They give me things. I work on things. That's management. Managers, management. You do the things. Leadership is service. I believe the further up you go, the more you serve. All I do all day is serve on behalf of my team. It's what you do as a CEO. So my advice to you would be, remember, leadership is service. Leadership is inspiration. Some people come to work already inspired. Some people need to be inspired. If you deduce your role to solely being the manager, you may not think it's your responsibility to inspire others. You may think it's not your responsibility to see that someone is having a bad day and want to really connect with them and tell them to take a walk. As long as you get the work done, that's management. Leadership is saying, you okay today? What happened? You're dealing with some stuff? Go home, I'll do your job. Leadership is also willing to do the work. So that's how I look at the difference. Management is your title. You do the X's and O's. Leadership is available for management. If you want to inspire, coach, learn, motivate, deliver outside alpha. I don't think you can deliver outside alpha returns of whatever your goals are if you deduced your role to just saying I'm the manager. And by the way, it feels like people have to follow you because of your rented title, not because they're inspired by you. So people have to respond because you're the manager. Well, that's my manager, child. She, whatever. Y'all know what I'm saying. Versus, oh my God, that's Rick. Let me tell y'all, he's my boss. I would do anything for him. He works me hard, but I'm saying what he says to me. But, I love what we're doing. We're a team. We come together. We take the hill together. That's leadership.
Okay, I want to thank you for your presence. You are always present everywhere I have seen you. Let me tell you, one of the things that you didn't mention is you acknowledge, you value, you recognize the people that you work with. And I know you are a servant leader because I've seen it. You've experienced here just talking about the things that we do for our employees, and I'm grateful for you. Thanks for coming here. It's such an honor, and I get to share you with this group. I've known you for many years now, but I get to share you with TCU, and it's just such a privilege. So thank you for your time.
Well, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy day. It's all about the ROT, the return on time. So I hope I was able to deliver value because you took the time out of your day to listen to what I had to say. You flew here, you used your currency to be here. And I do want to remind you that having the gift to lead a company like TIAA, whose whole mission is to ensure people can have a dignified retirement, I want to leave you with some anchor stats and one tip. 40% of all Americans run the risk of running out of money in retirement. 40. People are living longer. The question is no longer, people are asking, what's my number to retire? It's like, how long will I live? And you don't know that answer, which is why making sure that you're doing everything today to think about retirement, even at 18. The worst time to think about retirement is when you're 70. And for young people, you all want to impact the world, you want to own your businesses, you want to get back to your family. Start today your first job, max out your retirement plan. There's a powerful word called compounding. $1 a day is worth more than $1 tomorrow. And by the way, that benefit where a company matches, that was part of your salary. So unless you want to say, I'm good on that $8,000, you can keep that company, max out on your benefit day one before you see the check, because once you see that check, you're not going to want to take money out to deduce it. And then also remember that there's a lot of tax benefits. And so we do have a crisis because we are at a time where we have intergenerational living. You know, we are taking care of mom and dad, and we want to go on that guy's trip, and we want to help support our children or our nieces and nephews, and the math is not mathing. And so I do think that we have to talk about a secure retirement early on so that when you get older, you're not transferring debt or burden, you're transferring wealth. But the decisions that you make at 18, 19, 20, 22, 30 is the story that you will be able to tell when you're 50, 60, et cetera, to be able to change the course of your family. And for those of you that may not be where you want to be, the best time to start is today. Even if all you have is $10, make sure you are putting something aside for your tomorrow. And understand the power of compounding, the tax benefit, the power of your plan, so that you can have a more secure future. So I could not leave without telling our young people the power of compounding. Max out your first. That's what I did. My first job, I made $26,000 a year. But on Sunday, I was broke. Monday, I maxed out because that check was more money than I ever made, and they maxed it out. So I had a new baseline. And within a short period of time, I have 7 figures just from doing that. It's the power of compounding, and I was not going to let any company leave my coins with them. I'm taking it all. So you all are amazing. Even though I'm a bear and a cougar, go Frogs. And thank you all for the time.